Welcome to Chad and Steve Have a Podcast. In today's episode, we talk about remaking old videos, trolls in the comments section, building websites in the early days of the internet, watching food rot on YouTube, and how old Steve is better than new Steve. Thanks so much for listening, and if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more Chad and Steve Have a Podcast episodes. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Here we go. We've
we
another
go.
podcast we're starting. And you know what's really weird is now that I did, because you know what happens, we had this little conversation before we just now started, and now it feels like, oh, now I'm sort of in podcast mode, which I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be like, no, just continue the conversation. I almost wish I could just like automatically start recording right when we start talking, because all that stuff I'm thinking, well, it's just more of our conversation. Anyway.
And that's adding to the authenticity. However, I think we're doing a pretty good job of just recording and then kind of getting back into conversation and not being too psyched out. I mean, versus where we were before.
Oh yeah,
goodness me, throwing ourselves for a loop and building it all up. And this is so. I've told you this, whatever, offline or at least outside of this. I look forward to this more than anything else in a week. Family stuff aside, but this is my this gives me such balance, and it gives me such it's such a thing to look forward to, and I absolutely love doing this.
Me too. So, and I would, even if we weren't recording this. It's just I love talking, and we had talked to each other for a long time without recording anything, so it's really no different than that, and I do enjoy that a lot.
But here we are with a podcast now.
I just posted my 28 weeks later video. So I did are you familiar with the movie 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks?
One of my favorite horror movies.
Oh yeah,
horror movie. Horror movies, I guess. Yeah, sure.
And so I did a 28 Days Later one after I started doing the lockdown woodworking 28 days, and I did that video, and I thought, oh, this is crazy. I never thought it'd be 28 days doing this, and now here I am doing a 28 weeks later video. So how
many videos do you have on this platform?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check. It's probably 400, maybe. It's not, most of those have been in this year, really.
Really? So for the longest time, you were a video upload per week?
One per week for a long, long time. So actually, I probably have more than that. I'm not. How do I find out how many? I'm like the worst YouTuber. Where do I find the number of videos?
I think if you go to Creator Studio, which I don't believe is called Creator Studio anymore.
It's just called Studio, YouTube Studio.
I actually have it as Manage Videos is what my button shows up as. You know, when you go to your channel page and you're signed in, you have Customized Channel, and then right beside it used to say YouTube Studio or Creator Studio, excuse me.
Right.
Now it just says Manage Videos. Maybe they're trying to move away from that branding of Creator Studio.
That's weird. I don't know.
I know that Facebook literally copied it verbatim. I think they call theirs Creator Studio as well, and it's the same thing. If
I go to like channel videos, I don't see a number there where it says how many. Maybe if I go to my actual channel. Let's see, view your channel on YouTube. Maybe that's the way to do it.
If you go to Social Blade, I bet you actually, I think
I know.
They have a tally on Social Blade. Does anybody use Social Blade anymore? Now that they changed to that truncated sub number thing where your subs only go up I think our subs, because we're in the million, go up by like 10,000 at a time is what it registers. At least that's the display that people can see now. Right. So you show up as 1.59 million subscribers or whatever it is.
Yeah, where Social Blade got really. I'm still looking through this. I still can't find how many videos I have. This is really this. Don't you think this would be something that YouTubers should know? I would think.
Let's see who can find out quicker.
Oh, hold on a second.
How many videos you have on your channel? I'm going straight to Social Blade.
Oh, here, I found it. Well, you know how I found it is because TubeBuddy has a thing on there. 602 videos. So it's a little bit more than I estimated.
So
when I click on my channel page, there's now this TubeBuddy stuff that shows up at the top. Do you have that installed?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's right
I think
up
that's
there.
Like the browser kind of vehicle.
And it was only recently that I hit over 200 million views on my video, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, 602 videos, huh? Well, there you go.
I remember when we passed 100 million, and that number just like boggled my mind to think of 100 million videos. And I think we're pretty close. I think we're like at 240 or 250 million or something
Yeah,
like
our
that.
two channels are really close, just all the whole time. We've been like all right next to each other. We're like following that same trajectory. It's interesting to see that.
And that's what's pulled us together. However, I was coming across, so I couldn't find your information quick enough. However, I did manage to. I just searched for woodworking for mere mortals by going
Oh God.
WWMM. Were you aware of
Oh, what's the
Worldwide Movie Maker? They have one upload,
no
34 subscribers,
no
and
what
they
is
created
that?
their channel in 2013. So
Is it just if you just do WWMM? Because when I search WWMM, my stuff comes up right up the top, but that's just because I'm searching for me probably. But
are
huh,
you saying through Google?
just the YouTube search.
I was just doing. Sorry, I was just doing that on Social Blade, and I think it's
Oh, on
you that
Social
that
Blade.
the actual use. What's your actual channel name
The actual
according to
channel.
the
Oh,
URL?
the actual Steve. Okay, this is really weird. The actual name of my channel
It's
is,
Stephen Marin, isn't it?
yeah,
Tell
but
the story.
it's
Tell the
Stev.
Stephen Marin story.
It's Stev in Marin because I forgot the second E. When I set up my channel, and this is such a dumb thing. This was in 2008, and I set it up, and I could just remember that on an afternoon I was just like, oh, let's just quickly do this. I don't know, whatever. And I just, well, what should I username? I don't know. How about Stephen Marin? And I forgot the second E in my name. It was just so dumb. And how do you do that? How does a person do that? And then it stuck, and so it was, and now it's stuck there forever. But thankfully, nobody looks at those actual channel names or the channel URLs.
Anymore, and you can just kind of
Yeah,
change your name without actually changing the URL or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. So yeah, for the first year or so of my channel, that was just Stephen Marin was just kind of what I called myself. I didn't have woodworking for mere mortals. I didn't have any kind of real branding then. I didn't know. I still really don't know what I'm doing. I just throw things at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to get our name, obviously, just
You were
at the time.
smart. You were smart.
And now you are kind of left with. I was thinking about. I was reading an article, and they say that there's on a given month there's 2 billion signed in users that use YouTube.
That's amazing.
So clearly, I mean, like everybody's got a channel. As soon as you lock down a channel, you got a channel name, da da da. And I remember we talked about this not too long ago about .coms, where I mean, about 5 years into the popularity of .coms, it was impossible to find anything, even like you'd include hyphens and this, that, and the other. And now it's kind of at that point with your YouTube channel, and it's like all the names are gone.
I
All the
know.
names are gone, and so
Yeah.
you're kind of stuck with whatever is remaining. But I was just blown away by the thought of I'd heard about Facebook's numbers when they were kind of the first to reach into the billions of users, and trying to wrap your head around like 1 in every 7 people on the planet, use this or da da da. But with YouTube, yeah, 2 billion signed in users. It's just not traffic, not just anything. That's 2 billion accounts. It's really
It is.
substantial.
I think that the stats that always boggle my mind the most about YouTube is how many hours of videos are uploaded per minute on
Yeah,
YouTube. And I remember this was a long a long time ago when it was 24 hours. They hit 24 hours of video is uploaded every minute of the day to YouTube. And now that number is blown away. It's something, I don't know, like 2 weeks or something is uploaded every minute. I mean, it's just an outrageously, yeah, I can't even fathom a number that big, really, on every minute of the day.
and they used to hammer that it used to be something that, so back in 2013 we went to Brandcast. I think it was like the second or third year that they were doing Brandcast, and we got an opportunity to go. We went to New York, and Eric Schmidt, who was the CEO at the
Yeah.
time, and whoever was running YouTube was there, and a bunch of other celebrities and whatnot. And they went up and they did a whole kind of, not song and dance, but they went on stage and they had a big screen behind them. They're like, here's all the interesting stats, because at the time they're clearly trying to talk to people in television and advertising and whatnot, and being like, hey, we are the new relevant platform. And they would put up numbers like that way back in 2013. They would be like, every minute 57,000 hours of video footage, and they have this big thing, and they're like, over 1 billion people signed in, da, da, da. And you realize that they're at the point where and this was way back in 2013, I'm sure those numbers, like you said, are like, it's not even any use now, because it's hard to just understand what that number is. 1 minute of my life accounts for like whatever that is, 25,000 people uploading videos, which account for millions and millions, if not billions of minutes of view time. And it just gets to the point where it starts to, it almost doesn't matter that the numbers are so large, because it's really just hard to comprehend what they mean anyways. So I think that's why they probably moved away from it, because I'm sure the number now would be like every second, 100 million minutes of video footage is uploaded.
It is an outrageous number. It is. I think it's a couple of weeks for every minute. I can't even imagine that the server space, the storage space to just hold that amount of data is just incredible, because especially since video files are just so huge anyway. Oh my God, it is really a mind-boggling number.
They just have server farms in the desert, don't they, or something like that?
I think, well, they have them all over the world. I know they've got some in like, they like to put them in colder northern regions so they don't have to spend so much on like air conditioning and keeping them cool. So yeah.
I remember I was traveling through, I think it was West Virginia or something like that, and I passed this massive building, and it was just very ominous looking. I think there's actually a subreddit called like Evil Buildings or something like that. Talk about all of the buildings in this world that look like they belong to like villains in comic books and stuff like that. And there's also a building in downtown New York that I saw that just has no windows, and it's just all looks very secure. And apparently that's actually, I think that's either a prison or it's a server farm for like AT&T or something like that. But anyways, we were driving in West Virginia, which just passed this massive building, and it was all gray and very dark looking, and it looked like an evil lair for Dr. Evil or something like that. And I found out from a local that it's a massive server. It was a massive Google server farm, or perhaps it was Amazon, because I think Amazon is the biggest supplier of web services on the planet, on top of being in charge of everything retail. A lot of people don't know hosting, like I think 70% of the world's hosting is now all done through Amazon web services and stuff like that.
Like, it is. Amazon does amazing. You know, all those videos uploaded to YouTube, one of my favorite like fun things to do, this isn't fun, it's kind of pathetic, really. It's like when you're really bored and you want something.
I like how that went from fun to pathetic.
I start to second guess myself, like I gotta re-examine my life choices.
I'm finding this.
It's not something I do very often, but what you can do, because a lot of those videos that are uploaded to YouTube are, nobody sees them. I mean, most probably aren't seen by anybody, but there's a couple of different like ways you can find these videos. And one of them is just to go to the search bar and type in IMG and then 3 numbers, because that's like, if you, in some cameras, if you upload directly from that, that's the default image number. And so all you do is buy IMG 3 random numbers, and it's just crazy, the videos that'll show up. And a lot of these are like just one person maybe uploaded it to maybe somebody else to look at. There's like, you know, maybe a real estate video or something, but there's some that have like 0 views. I mean, even the person who uploaded it didn't bother to look at the video. So it's just, but no likes, no nothing. So what I like to do is I find one of these, and some of them are really old. They can be like 3 or 4 years old, and I'll just leave a comment on just like, hey, I really like your video or something. You know, it's like, how in the world did this person find me? But yeah, and there's other kinds of those naming conventions that come with cameras and camcorders and things. I'm not sure what they all are, but that's the one that I remember is image. And then I think you can also do image or IMG underscore, and then
and then maybe
4 numbers or something like that. There's
you could search for MP4 or AVI too.
Yeah, that would be another way.
Get a whole bunch of people who include the extensions and whatnot in their titles.
Yeah, it's pathetic. I really just shouldn't do that stuff.
You need to get out more.
It's like stalking or something.
But I mean, these people then get like a YouTube comment from someone with over 1 million. So like that just must blow them away.
That's what I think is funny. That's what I think is funny.
You realize that it's a bit of it's not a bit of a sword, but like it's a bit of a little thing that you can do and kind of have some fun with. So I do the same thing. I'll sometimes come across like whatever, especially if it's like a younger person and they put up like a cleaning video or something like that, just to knock them on their butts to see a comment from like perhaps a channel that they weren't expecting.
Good to do that. I think it's really good to do that. And I always make a point of, whenever I watch a video that I like, that I actually thought this is an interesting video, it was helpful, it was something, I always try to leave a comment on that. And a lot of times that is on small channels if I'm searching for something specific. and I find the answer, I think it's good to leave a comment on those. I think more people ought to be less afraid to leave comments and just do it.
You're absolutely right. For many years, I was not in a, like, I didn't want to do that. It just felt like I was making it look like this big YouTube channel also surfs around. And yeah, and I mean, I'm doing that. I'm certainly not trying to present it like, whatever, but it kind of, it felt safe to kind of not do that. So therefore, we don't really only put it on, but that kind of goes away because you kind of start, like, that becomes less and less important as kind of time goes on, like thinking that you leaving a comment is more than you just using your platform to perhaps like send a little amplification to someone else.
I don't think that anybody would see a comment of mine anymore and think, oh, it's just either of self-promotion or he's just trying to, because I don't, if you're trying to get self-promotion that way, it's a poor way to do it. It's not the best way, just commenting on random videos here and there. So it's, I think I like doing it, and whenever I do that, it's always funny because it's usually on a video that has nothing to do with woodworking, but somebody who is in my audience will find my comment and they're like, "Well, I didn't expect."
Hey, Steve.
So it's kind of fun.
I have a YouTube question for you.
Yeah.
How often do you upload new videos of videos that you've already covered off subjects for? How often do you kind of like reboot a video once it's even like a successful video? How often do you kind of readdress it and kind of take a reboot or another kick at the can with something?
I think that's a great question because it's something that I've only recently started exploring more of, because for the longest time, I think a lot of us have this idea that you've seen every video on your channel, so everybody has seen every video on your channel. And so you're kind of under this assumption, well, I've already done this. People aren't going to like it if I do the same thing again. But then you got to remember, a random video I posted in, March of 2013, very few of those people who saw that video are also going to see the new video, and people who have just joined the channel are rarely going to find that older video. So there's no harm in it, and I think that it's also a good way to improve those older videos. I've done that a number of times where I've taken videos that I didn't like either the way I presented it. I think that there was information that I don't think I presented right, or I don't, some of those older videos, I just don't like how I don't like looking at myself in them. I'm like, I was so cringy.
Right. So you wanted
to redo it. I want to try to do it right. And so, yeah, I've done that a number of times. I'd like to actually start doing that more, because I think there were some really good videos that people are missing out on, or at least good topics and good subject matters that I should re-explore.
You start looking through your analytics, and that's kind of what brought this on. I mean, this was something we've been doing for a little over like 2 years now, simply because of the space that we're in. One of our biggest videos was cleaning your mattress, but that's from 2012, and we have a video from 2011 on how to clean your toilet and stuff like that. And that's great, but that was Melissa in 2011 and me in 2011 filming it a certain way and expressing information at that time and And as much as the video has whatever 5 million views or something like that, you get to the point where it's like, okay, we want to do this video again. We want to do some more justice to it, film it a different way, and just kind of update some of the information. But then for some reason, as a creator, your head instantly goes, and Melissa struggles with this quite a bit. Your mind just goes to like, the audience is going to see this and they're going to be like, you've officially run out of ideas. Congratulations. You're literally just, we know this video is one of your biggest videos and now you're trying to get more views, you're trying to whatever. However, in the dozens of times that we've kind of rebooted videos, we've never had anybody kind of say that. And when we were going through and making that decision, we would go through and check the analytics. And the analytics on these videos show that 85% of the people aren't even subscribed to the channel. So you have 15% of people who are subscribed to the channel who maybe watched this video from 7 years ago, if they were subscribed to the channel 7 years ago and they watched it at that time. You realize how small the number is out of your 5 million people who follow your channel who probably actually watch that video. And then the people who are big enough fans to watch that video quite often are very happy to see a reboot. It's like, oh, this is interesting, and this is a great piece of, whatever. And it serves you well just because, I mean, usually you're going through and doing videos which have good search volume, or like already have kind of like proof of concept proven. So now you can like really kind of perfect off of that, and you're going to get some solid viewership out of it. So it's something that we do now kind of on a regular basis. And we're also starting to like combine videos, because we realized that we did videos which are like 6 cleaning habits to make your house whatever cleaner or something like that, and we have like 5 of those videos, and some of them have views and some of them don't have views. So putting together a supercut, as I call it, of those, and we did that earlier this year, and it's I think in like less than 6 months it got 1 million views. It's like a 56-minute video, and it has a crazy view time because people just wanted to like pop something on and start whatever. Anyways, all of that to say, the thinking of like repurposing existing content into new content has been something which has certainly been on my mind. So I was just wondering if you're kind of going through some of the basics right now and kind of going back to what kind of worked a few years ago. And
yeah, I've done probably 4 of those just during this past 6-month period of doing the lockdown woodworking shows, and a lot of those, or 4 of them, that's not a lot, but of those there was one I did, that dumb magic wand video. I thought that was a fun project, but I did it like in 2012 or 2011, something like that, and I used copyrighted music, and so the music kind of went with it and everything. Well, back then a lot of people were doing that, and then my criteria of whether it was okay to use it was if I did a search and a bunch of people were using that song and nobody was getting flagged. I'm like, well, it must be safe. Well, eventually it got flagged, and so you could change the music at that point. I don't know if you can. I guess you could probably still do that, where they let you pick something from the YouTube library, but it was really ham-fisted. It was like you had to do it over the entire video. There was no, like, you couldn't just cut it in parts or something. And so I did this really just dumb song, and it didn't fit. I hated it, and so that was one reason why I redid that. And then I did a couple of other small projects too, and nobody, not like you said, nobody said any. You don't get those kind of. I think we think a lot.
That's in your head. Those are those are the people. Those are those imaginary people that. No, sorry. Of course, sometimes they exist. Of course, sometimes you come across. I shared a comment with you on your. When you got your 1 million subscriber plaque on Instagram, and you posted it, and I get that this is on Instagram, but it clearly follows through. And so this was from however long ago this was that you did it, probably last year at some point, and you posted a picture of your plaque, and you're like, oh, hey, look what just arrived. I'm very proud of this, and because a 1 million subscriber plaque, that's pretty good. And the comment, I won't do it any justice, just trying to remember.
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, okay. So then we'll find the actual comment. So, I mean, obviously the vast majority of the comments were incredibly supportive and and I'm sure if anybody had anything, whatever to say, most people would probably not put it on the post where you're sharing your plaque because you're proud of what you've accomplished. And I'll wait till you find the actual comment.
I can't find it now. I don't know what happened, but do you remember what the comment said? Because it surprised me, because I didn't remember. Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay, so it's oh yeah, this is it. Can you imagine how many more followers you'd have if you produced content more often and actually useful, like the good old days?
The good old days. I almost wanted this entire podcast to be about, quote unquote, the good old days.
Oh man.
The people who found you way back in the day who don't want you to change one iota.
Yeah, that's such a common thing that you will hear from people who have that complaint, is that I miss the old Steve. And it's like, well, it's just because you don't want to see things change too much. And, I understand. I like to think that I've stuck to my core idea of what I do. That hasn't really changed, the core values that I have, but I've improved the way I present it, and I've changed the way. And I think people should change things. Otherwise, you get stagnant. And the other comment that once in a while kind of you get, and you mentioned it when you were afraid of posting old videos, is people say, oh, well, I guess you've just run out of ideas.
Run out of
To me,
ideas.
that's just the dumbest thing. Like there's this pool of ideas that you're born with, and then at some age, at some point in your life, it's like, well, you've used them all up. There's nothing left. It's like that's not how the brain works.
It is such a strange thought. It was something that we went through a few years ago, before the kind of the influx of more kind of cleaning channels and cleaning content being just so like, okay, that is whatever. And we were still kind of very unique on the platform. And I remember we were big enough that people were noticing, but we were doing we were doing our best. And every time that we would do a video which like even slightly talked about a tip from another video or whatnot, we would get this. And it probably happened for about a year period. And I guess it was like we were at a growth stage where we were big enough to point a finger at, but small enough to like maybe read it and take it kind of personally. So maybe it was like the perfect time for people to troll and say these things. But I remember the thing is like, I'm just waiting for this channel to die when they run out of things to clean. And I would always reply with like, I assure you, we will never run out of things to clean.
Yeah, as long as there's dirt.
I see 5 videos: cleaning my monitor, cleaning my keyboard, cleaning the mic.
Gotta clean your attitude.
You better clean your attitude. So yes, but thankfully, like over the past few years, I can't remember the last time I read a comment of like, wow, you guys are clearly running out of ideas.
And I got, it's one of those things that, and I think there's one thing that kind of drives me crazy, and I know we're doing it right now. It's YouTubers complaining about comments, because it's like, ugh, everybody does that. And I in just today's video, in my 28 weeks later video, I mentioned that especially during this past 6 months, people have really come together on my channel, and it's a family. It's become this community, and how rare it is for me to get a negative comment on my channel. It's very rare that happens anymore. And that's because a number of reasons. One of the things is because I present a positive attitude, and I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty sure that you can look through the comments on any YouTube channel and it will reflect the creator of that channel and the host of that channel. Yes. And if he's cynical, if he's angry, you're going to get the exact same thing. People reflect the creator of that.
And it's really true. You end up reaping what you sow, obviously. And that's when the bigger thing was we never engaged with any of those people. It was always funny to kind of like see these comments and see the trolling, but then I think you kind of get used to it, and then it starts to kind of like run off your back. So you stop worrying about it. I was just trying to find, and I think I did, on my Instagram, this was quite a while ago, maybe like 2 years ago, when I first released a few videos which were just me. I did a honey-do list series of videos where I just like did some makeover projects and something, and it was just me. And I put them on the Clean My Space channel, and they ended up doing well, and most people really loved them. And I remember I had this long-term kind of like troll who would just go after me, didn't dislike the channel, didn't dislike Melissa, but disliked me. And the comment on the first video that I ever kind of put up, that was all me, and I put so much work into it, and it was about making over the nursery for my dog. Like, it's a very touching, meaningful video to me. And this person's comment was, Chad, get a job, stop living off Melissa, you are like watching paint dry. Okay, so I am like watching paint dry. I get that, and I'll give this person that. But I have a job, and it's living off my wife. So I'm sorry that my job is living off my wife. But yeah, I have gotten those comments in the past.
I would have replied with something like, "Oh, well, what's your favorite color of paint?" or something. I don't know.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I like to like totally misunderstand their comments when I reply. I think that's the funniest way. If I reply to a comment like that, is like reply in a way that I totally misunderstood what they were trying to say.
Yeah, thanks. It's like, well, no, that was an insult, and they have to write it again.
I know.
You don't know how to troll very well
anymore. I don't respond to that. And like I said, I don't get a whole lot of that, and it's just, I got to the point where I thought it's just not worth why am I spending the time replying to, because I don't know, it's just something that
Yeah.
it gets you, it kind of, they're digging deep somehow when they try to do something like that. And I think, why do I spend time on that when I should be spending that exact same time on people who are here because they want to be here? And it's just not, it's not fair to those people. So those, I just, yeah, I don't bother.
Let alone spending my time. Like now is my time. Now it's literally costing me time to think about this and compose a reply. So it became very easy to be like, no, I'm not interested. How often do you reply? Do you reply to comments on every single video?
Oh, well, that's, I do. It's not every single video. And here's the funny thing is, since I started doing this, since I turned off my notifications, I haven't been replying. And so and it's because we had that social dilemma discussion. And so I turned off all notifications on my phone. Well, I was getting those YouTube studio comment notices when somebody, and it's not every comment where you get a notification. It's, I don't know how it works, and I would reply to interesting ones, but now I don't get those notifications, and I don't do that. And same with Instagram. I'm not, and so I'm kind of reaching this weird existential crisis of like, do I really exist? Because I'm not participating in the thing that I'm creating. I don't know. And I keep telling myself, well, I should just just make a time where I'll do a half hour and just go through some comments and just answer them. And that sounds great. And I haven't done it. I don't know why that is. And I really feel like I should do that. But I also don't want to turn the notifications on because it is very free. It's a little weird when I get up in the morning and I look at my phone and there's no notifications on there. It's a weird feeling. It's odd. Do you answer comments?
We used to. It actually used to be something that was we felt incredibly important, as in like
Yeah.
taking the time to whatever. We clearly got to the point where the comments became like too much to be able to put time into. Now it's on obviously if someone takes the time to write a nice comment, to reply to it or at least acknowledge or whatnot. It ends up usually being just kind of not canned responses, but just in order to like try to touch a lot of people and try to like get back to a bunch of people, as opposed to just like the one person who kind of went overboard and put a really good comment and I want to do whatever. I just sometimes like going through and like, hey, thanks for watching, and and especially if someone has a first name, just be like, hey, thanks for watching, Julia. I feel like it feels like just something very, very quick, but it's nice to see that there is still that interaction. I always leave the first comment on the video and I say first in the comment, as in I am that person who leaves first as a comment. It usually ends up becoming the top liked comment because most people consider that unfair because I know when the video is being uploaded. Do you like your own videos? As soon as you upload it, do you watch it and go through and do what you need to do on the video page? And while you're there and there's no likes or dislikes on the video, are you the first to like your own video?
No, I never I never like my own videos. I never even think about that, really. It's not a thing. I rarely like other people's videos. Only if once in a while I think, I should really like that video, or if they tell me to smash that like button. But other than that,
is there a particular way that someone can tell you to smash a like button that will make you more interested in smashing?
I was just thinking this morning that one of my cats, if she were a YouTuber, she would constantly be telling me to smash the like button because she is so demanding of my attention. And she's like, me.
It would just be all calls to action. No content whatsoever.
No, totally.
I wonder if that YouTube channel would work. Just a call to action. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the video. Smash that like button and be sure to subscribe. See you in the next one. And then the video ends and it's just
I love it. I love that concept of that.
I like the concept of, and I've seen it on Twitter as much as I try to stay away from Twitter. One of the things that I really do like are the people who just create accounts and it's just literally the same thing every day. It'll be like a countdown to like when a new kind of like game is coming out or something like that, or like something hasn't happened. And I saw one, I was reading some President Trump tweets and I found this account called Sir, This is a Wendy's, and all they do is reply to every single tweet of Donald Trump with Sir, this is a Wendy's drive. And I think it's at first I was like, I don't know, but then I see that they just consistently do it. And I like that. But
One of my favorite Instagram accounts that I follow, and she hasn't posted in a while, and it's just called Insta Repeat. And what she does is she finds, I don't know how she does it, but she finds all of these kind of cliched photos that people are taking on Instagram, and they go through phases. There's like trendy phases of people in different poses. There's like the camping one where you're in the tent and you're looking out and you can see the tent, and so there's all of these, and she'll put them into that like 3x3 grid. There's 9 images across on there, and she'll tag all of those people, and it's just so weird to see those pictures, how they all look identical. Like people are just, they go on Instagram and they're like, oh, I like that pose, I'll do the exact same thing. It's
Exact
so,
same.
I started this idea I had, and I always wanted to get this off the ground. I never did. It was just a fun thing, and I still do it, but I don't have the Instagram account. And I wanted to call it like narcigram or like narcissistic gram. I don't know. And so egogram or something. So what I would do is every time we would visit some, I don't know, semi-famous place, or like the Golden Gate Bridge, or Coit Tower, wherever we might be, I would like to take a selfie with that behind me, but I'm completely blocking the thing,
Right.
whatever it is. So it's just
like you're right in the middle of the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
right. You're just completely
Doing
blocking
an
it.
Instagram shot. I like that.
I thought that was really. I have a whole bunch of those pictures. I really should set up that Instagram account.
It seems like we're kind of in that kind we've had these conversations before talking about niche and narrowing down what you actually do. And I think that's what kind of enamors me about this. Melissa did a news piece, like a Skype news piece on cleaning your mask or something like that. And I came across a Twitter account called Room Raider. And I think it's like a Twitter, the account is like Rate My Skype Room or something like that. They have about 350,000 followers. And all they do is take stills from people's Skype interviews and rate the background that they've chosen to stand in front of for the Skype. So some people go in front of books and da da da. Well, Melissa has her beautiful office, and clearly because we shoot in there as well, it's specifically kind of like framed to be a really nice background. So she got a very nice one, but I ended up going through this. She got a 10 out of 10 from Room Raider. But I started going through, and literally every hour, and that's all they do, they'll just find news clippings of people with the Skype backgrounds, and it'll just be like, oh, I like your art, flowers, pillows, lighting, and you have a nice seat. 10 out of 10. Or like, oh, it's very boring, it looks like a hostage situation. 1 out of 10. Like one person with one picture on the wall. Anyway, it got me into thinking about, like, I would love to try to do something which is just so specific. I love that. I think that's really cool.
Do you remember the world record egg on Instagram a couple of years ago? It was
No.
it was all it was, and now it's kind of developed into a big page. But anyways, it was just a picture of an egg, and I'm looking it up right now. So this was in 2019, January 4th.
Oh,
and so,
yes.
you remember that?
Yeah.
It says,
Was
let's
it like
set
the
a
most liked post or something like that?
yeah, let's set a world record together and get the most liked post on Instagram, beating out the current record held by Kylie Jenner of 18 million. And I think they did that on there.
I have a screenshot of 18,364,000 in January.
God, that's amazing. And it's just an egg. There was no explanation of it or anything. It's just a world record egg. And they beat
There it is.
It
Yeah.
has
Eugene is the person's name. World record egg. 5.9 million followers now on that account. And they clearly just post a bunch. It looks like they've literally turned it into like a kid's.
yeah, I think I don't follow it. I followed it because I wanted to try to see how this thing was. I liked how, but then there were like rumors. Was this really just like some sort of an ad gimmick or something? I don't know what it all.
It would have been brilliant if it was like the Egg Farmers of America or something like that. It was a brilliant ploy.
I think that I don't think they have probably as many followers as they did when that first started. Everybody, for a couple of weeks there, it was huge. It was just an egg. One single picture on that account had more views than Kylie Jenner.
Thank Thank goodness for that. I'm so happy that an
I
egg
know.
beat out Kylie Jenner. That's wonderful for first. But that's the wonderful randomness of the internet. It was the very first, I don't know if I've ever shared this before, but like my very first thing that I ever did on the internet was with my girlfriend at the time.
Do I want to
We
know what the story is?
so we're like, hey, a lot of people are into foot. No, um, uh, um, there was a period of time, and this was like the late '90s, I guess it was, or early 2000s. Let's say maybe like 2000, 2001. And there was a big thing on the internet about just random stuff. You could just find strange, weird things. And one of the things that we thought was funny, and I was just getting into learning how to code websites. So I was interested in us creating a website, but we had nothing to, talk about. We had nothing to whatever. So we thought of the concept of, we were driving one day and we saw a pair of pants on the side of the road. And we're like, isn't it strange that like sometimes you're just driving and you see like a pair of pants or a pair of underwear on the side of the road? And like you kind of wonder about the backstory as to like how a pair of pants ended up on the side of the road or like on a freeway or something like that. So we started a website called Pavement Gear. And we pretended like we were like special agents. We actually got little jackets printed up. And we would go around and drive around. And surprisingly, it wasn't very hard at the time to find just clothing. And we would take pictures of it and we would collect it. We would take it home. We would clean it and then we would donate everything that we found. So we tried to like do something good with it, and like also cleaning up and like, so there was a bunch of like whatever, but the whole concept was like, isn't it just kind of random that you will whatever. So we started asking people to send in pictures and they did. And there was just this whole community. And at the time there were websites that used to tell you about other websites in a particular genre. And like, there was this big, strange, weird internet space. And we kind of got in that. So we got mentioned in magazines around the world and this, that, and the other, just because we had this incredibly little random thing. And that was my introduction to the internet. That was the first kind of thing that like really drew me into it. And I think that's why I'm still fascinated by just how weird a place the internet can be and how it's almost embraced. And that's what, this is the platform that allows you to kind of do stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember those kind of early days too. I had my first websites. I had two, and it was you may find this funny, but it was Laurel and Hardy and Our Gang, Little Rascals website, because these were old movies that were produced in the 20s and 30s, short films. And I was always been a fan of Laurel and Hardy and their comedy, and actually all two real comedies from the 20s and 30s. I just loved that stuff. But anyway, so I set up a fan page for Laurel and Hardy, and then a second one for Our Gang. They were both produced by Hal Roach Studios, and they're both kind of intertwined. And those things just completely took off. And so I was in, like you said, magazines. There were internet magazines.
Internet magazines, yes. I still have them actually, because I think it's such an awesome history.
Here's the URL to my website. And like at the time, my URL actually was a Sirius.com. And this was before Sirius XM radio existed. Sirius was a local internet service provider here in the Bay Area. And so I guess at some point they sold it. But so you would have to type in, a Sirius.com/ Steve Ramsey. I don't remember what it was. And then the Laurel and Hardy and all. But they would put the entire URL in the magazine pages. And then I was and that thing got so popular, and I became like this expert on the subject because I had a website. And you're an expert on something in 19
that was back in the days where when you had a website you were probably actually an expert, because people weren't putting up websites to like somehow like at that time at least you were just kind of doing it because you either had an interest or it was like a passion to actually do it.
Absolutely. They had me on. I got a call for us to be on True Hollywood Stories, Entertainment Network at the time. They did this. It's a really trashy show they did. I don't know if they still do it or not. This True Hollywood Stories, and they would try to dig in, get dirt on some sort of Hollywood legends or rumors or whatever. And so they came out and interviewed me on that show. And that's still, I think you can find it on YouTube. It's weird looking at that because that was probably 2001 maybe. Something that was really weird, grainy video at this point.
That was old Steve. That
Was
was
it
that
really?
Steve that guy was talking about. That was the Steve that would
That's
have gotten your million plaque a lot quicker than you got your million plaque,
that's the
Steve.
one he misses. I
If you
miss the old.
started, if you did 2 uploads a week,
Yeah.
Steve, you would have been at a million subs a
Oh,
lot.
here's another one. Last week when you were talking about launching your mop, your new mop, and I
Yes.
looked through some of those comments, and most of the comments were nice. The biggest thing that people, any complaint people have on any product is that it costs too much. But there's always this one guy. It's always a guy, I don't know, who has to leave this comment, who is somehow, and he never has like a an icon for his YouTube, it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
letter or whatever. So but there's always the one person who thinks they are like the expert in business. They've probably never
Uh-huh.
done anything, but they're the ones who are always saying, if you would lower the price to half of that, you'd sell twice as many as you, and you'd be a millionaire. I'm
So you
like,
saw that comment, did
I
you? It was
did.
it was one that I remember as well, because
It
yes, we're very
just
much used
cracks
to.
me up. They're just like somehow these experts at economy and pricing goods and services.
We've been running this company and selling products in this way since 2015. We got into all of this because we're entrepreneurs. I started my first business when I was 13 years old. Like that was a spot where like we didn't get some success and then try to like leverage off the quickest thing that we could. We leveraged our success and tapped into our entrepreneurial kind of sides and wanted to make a structured business which had legitimacy to it and wasn't just a merch line, wasn't just like us slapping our name on something. So the amount of work that went into it, that doesn't matter. Like obviously I'm not sitting here like lamenting the amount of work that went into it, but it's funny because I think that's the thing that these people miss, that they don't appreciate perhaps. You're right, they're experts because they know how to like bring a product in from the other thing and go through a bunch of testing and da da da. But yes, they were so oddly specific about how we would make so much more money if we
Yeah.
literally just had a better and it was something random. It was like a logistics supply chain or something. It's like, you sound like you know what you're talking about, but you sound like you have no idea what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I
At the
think that,
exact
I mean, by that logic of, the lower the price, the more sales you're going to make it's not how economics works. It's not how pricing works. And if that were the case, you would price everything like $1 above cost and you would sell billions and it just doesn't work that way
And
at
if
all.
you think for one sec, anybody who is listening to this, if you think for 1 second that the profitability of something is what you paid for the product versus what you're
Right.
charging for the product, if you think it's that like rudimentary and basic to figure out what a price point is on something these days, then there's a whole lot of things that go into it that perhaps you're not factoring in, like the amount of time and resources that go into getting to those two numbers, getting something for X amount of dollars and then being able to sell it for X amount of dollars. And we do it for a very specific reason. We don't want to make cheap products. And we've also
Right.
realized that if we were to sell it for $19.99, you're still going to get people who are like, yeah, but the dollar store has one for $5. And then if we
Yeah.
sell it for $5, they're going to be like, yeah, and I found a used one for $1. And like, you're always going to have someone who will be like, yes, but, and then you realize just, clearly the amount of people thousands of people bought it. Thousands of people are super excited. And we put a lot of value into it. And anyways, I'm not using this to defend a comment, but it's very true that you'll see people who like feel like they have an insight based upon like watching
Yeah.
the launch
Yeah.
video
But
of a
they don't know.
mop.
They've
Tell
probably
the inner
never,
workings.
they've probably never sold a product in their life. They don't
Strangely,
understand.
every time you go through to one of these, I went through to the profile of the person who left that comment on your Instagram, and I could not for the life of me find his plaque, let alone a YouTube channel associated with what he was
Right.
doing. And
I see this a lot with woodworkers too, who ask how to sell products, and 9 times out of 10, probably more often than that, they're really underselling the product. And even if they're just making like more or less craft projects for like craft fairs and small wooden boxes and things, and by selling those at such a low price, they're really kind of making it hard for other woodworkers. Really, everybody needs to start to price things at their value, and their value isn't just the materials that went into it. And I always ask these people, how much time does it take you to make? Because you're making these yourself. You're not even outsourcing the stuff. How much time is it? And you work it out. And a lot of time these people are selling things they're making less than minimum wage. I'm like,
Right.
why are you doing this to yourself? It doesn't make any sense. Well, people aren't willing to pay more than that. Well, you need to find the people who are willing to pay for what something is worth, and instead of just letting them treat you like a chump.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You end up focusing on the usually much larger percentage of people who are happy to pay whatever you think is fair, because they already have an inherent trust that you're not trying to, and that's kind of it. It's like most people get it because they know we're not here trying to, like, we're not trying to get an extra $10 per unit just because we want to stuff our pockets and get a second house or whatever. Like, I mean, I get how that can sometimes be the thought process, but like the amount of thought that goes into making sure that the price is right, not too low, not too high, and whatnot. Like, there's a whole bunch of it. That was months and months and months and months of debate and back and forth. And we didn't even know what the end price was going to be 3 days before launching it, simply because it was such an important thing. We needed to find something that just resonated, proved the value behind it, still had like an initial offering. So like, here's the value you're getting, here's the introductory price you're getting, and still making that introductory price digestible and like, you know, at a certain price point. But anyways, that's getting into a bunch of like product development and like business talk and stuff like that. And we were talking about comments about people who have literally 3 minutes of exposure to our new mop and already know that we probably haven't done it right because our pricing is all wrong according to their calculations. And that's totally fine with me.
Hey, I got, if you're looking for this, I totally just changed the subject here, but I was thinking about this channel that I've become. I get obsessed with channels. You know, I'll find something and I'm like, oh my God.
You are that guy. And
I am
when we
totally
were,
that.
I was updating, sorry to interrupt. I was updating our kind of like topic ideas, the kind of Google Doc that we have going, and I was putting a bunch of stuff in there, and like, man, we have so much to talk about. But anyways, I don't want to cut you off.
It's funny because I was just looking at this right now, and that's what made me think of this. Is that I'm not going to talk about the first one, but this the second one. I don't know why I was thinking about it. It's called Tempo Knot. Tempo Knot.
Oh yes.
Do you know
I
Tempo
wanted to
Knot?
ask about that.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
Okay, it's a channel. This guy does these time lapse over the course of a couple of weeks of like food rotting.
Oh, that is awesome.
But you got to go for the meat. Don't go for the vegetables because they just get moldy and stuff. But the meat, it's just like the maggots get in there, and it's like the most disgusting. It is the most disgusting thing ever to watch that. Tempo Knot.
Whoop, there we go.
And oh my God.
Okay, 1.39 subscribers. So this isn't, oh goodness. Look at this.
And I kind of like scrub through most of those videos, you know, and kind of get to the gross parts. But you know, he'll put like a chicken breast or something there, and or like a fish, and just see what happens. And oh my God, and
wow.
the maggots and the well, I didn't mean for that to just be a gross out session. There you go.
How long have you been following this channel?
And that's my channel pick of the week.
Steve's channel pick of the week. Oh, I need to quickly find a channel to pick.
My podcast voice. Next week.
Did they start? No, it looks like, wow. Okay, so 11 years ago. So
is that right? Is that how old that is?
Yeah. I'm just looking through.
Oh.
However, all of the early stuff has very few views, but it looks like kind of I was wondering if the person or whoever came out with the time-lapse videos of like sun, it seems like it's a lot of sun going up and moon going up, but then there's also this. So anyways, ultimately I was wondering if like the concept started from this, or if this came out of like his or whoever's channel, which was focused on, and even the name kind of suggests that it's about like the sky, the time lapse things that he's doing, but not the food rotting aspect.
My guess is that he was doing time lapse photography. He posted one of food rotting, and it kind of went viral. And he's like, this is what people.
Guess what? Guess how right you are. Actually, they tried it with rotting strawberries. Was the first one that they did 11 years ago. So that one has 369,000 views, and then a few other videos which have smaller amounts of views, and then we have rotting watermelon decomposition time lapse, and that has 2.7 million views on it from 10 years ago. So that clearly set the tone for this. Is great.
It's just gross, but that's the kind of YouTube I like. It's the kind of thing that it is YouTube specific, really. It's
Yes.
not, it wouldn't be on TV. And and it's one of the things that again, getting back to the video I posted today where I made my observations about the last 6 months. And I mentioned that I think a lot of YouTube channels, especially in the maker space and woodworking, they're starting to look a lot like TV shows. And I kind of lament that because it kind of makes me sad in a way. I miss the old YouTube. Now I'm sounding like that guy. But it seems like that YouTube was about you. I mean, you just put out your video and do your thing. Now, wow, there is some really slick channel. They look great, but I feel like I'm watching HGTV or something, one of these home improvement channels on TV.
When did it change for you? And I wanted to ask you this, and perhaps this is a much larger conversation than with the small amount of time that we have remaining, but when did that change? When did you realize that you needed to stop making it be about this fun hobby channel and it became like, okay, the content needs to kind of start moving towards this, because this is like that cohesion between like respecting what the audience wants and still trying to fulfill, like when was that tipping point for you?
Well, I don't know if it really ever made.
Or have you ever had that tipping point? Have you always looked at your channel as like still being able to be completely selfishly creative with? And I know that's something that we talked about that has come along with like experience, and like maybe we have the confidence and
I think this is.
to do that now.
I think this is a bigger conversation because I have a couple of different thoughts on that off the top of my head. I'd like to say that, yeah, I'm always trying to improve my channel and trying to improve what I do. And there was a time maybe around 2014 or so, 15, when the channel was kind of at that peak, we talked about channels peaking and kind of coming down a little bit, where I was really trying to do everything I could to make it a much more professional looking production. And then it didn't really, I don't really know if it did much good. And I just realized that I think authenticity, keeping it real is really more important. And that's why even this year I've been kind of leaning into that even more by just setting up a camera without much thought. Like I mentioned, I don't even turn on my shop lights anymore. I use the natural lighting and all of this kind of stuff. But yeah, we should talk about this some more because I think I have a lot to say on it. I'm sure you do too.
So let's dig deep the next time, because I did add this on the list because I thought about it, because I was thinking just the other day about when I literally quit my job and well, there was a time that I went down to part-time on my job so I could dedicate a little bit more time to this, and then the full-time commitment that happened in and around 2014, and just all of the things that kind of happened since then. So I do. I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about there. So let's not do it the injustice of cramming it in.
And we should also sometime talk just about our own kind of personal histories, because I don't think if anybody's listening to this,
to all of you who are listening,
if anybody does at some point, they might want to know who we are. And so we should probably like do a little bit of a talk about ourselves.
That's a good idea. What we could do is we can invite that guy to come on, and he could talk about what the old Steve was like. How much better you were back then.
Ooh, that old Steve.
That old Steve. I want the old clean MySpace. Yeah.
We want the old Melissa.
I want the old Melissa. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now you're. Yeah. Well, then let's talk about that next time.
That sounds great. And so we're going to try to still work out the details on setting up the podcast thing, and we can talk more about that offline on Friday.
Absolutely.
And see if we can get this together. I think it feels like it's a slow process, but I guess,
it feels organic this way, though. It feels like we're leading with doing this part, and maybe those details are, but at least we're not like part of the issue before was like, this was so much of a thing to actually create the content. So maybe it would have been easy to set up a website and set up the channel and put everything together back then, but the difficult thing was actually making the content. Now it seems like the content's here and we just need to do due diligence of getting a website and
think about it.
Twitter account or whatever it is. And for those listening, Chad and Steve have a podcast.com.
Right. It's a thing, but there's nothing there now.
But there's nothing there.
It does nothing. You can go to it if you want, if you like doing that. It's like doing an image search on YouTube, you know, and finding what random thing you'll find. It's like chadandsteve.com. Oh, that's interesting. It's nothing. It's not a thing.
And we still have the YouTube channel up with 1 subscriber. Are you the subscriber?
It's you? Subscribe.
I haven't even subscribed to my own YouTube.
You should consider liking and subscribing and smash that like button. Don't just like it, smash the like button.
Has anybody tried to like sue a YouTuber for being like, I broke my phone, I smashed the like button so hard I cracked my phone?
My whole damn phone is crushed because I smashed it. Damn you.
Well, this has been a slice.
Yeah, slice of life right there. Again, I don't know how we really got this point. It was fun. And we'll be back again next week.
We will. And we have some stuff to talk about next week.
Lots of stuff to talk about. That's just fun.
What episode number is this?
This is number, well,
6? 7, 6?
This is going to be
6.5.
This is good. You know what I did is I made episode 1. I called it episode 0 and then just made it unlisted because I really didn't like it. I didn't start recording until we were like 5 minutes into it.
Right. There's no kind of content.
The sound was bad, and it didn't. I don't think if somebody ever wants to go look at the very first episode, I don't want that one to be it. So this will be our fourth or fifth.
So 4th or 5th, and until the 6th,
we need to hire a guy. Remember, we came real close to hiring a guy to just do all this stuff, and then we're like, nah, we don't need that.
No, let's focus on actually just trying to do this part, and now we're doing this part, and I'm fine with being kind of not stuck, but kind of like a little bit slow on the uptake for the other stuff. I feel it's not taking away from this, as opposed to having all that stuff in order and still trying to figure this out.
Totally agree. All right, Chad, that sounds great. And all right. I will talk to you on a Friday offline. Nobody will hear our secret conversation.
Unless I secretly recorded and uploaded on my second channel. Chad and Steve have a podcast behind the scenes. No,
put it on your OnlyFans account.
On my OnlyFans account. Oh goodness.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
All right, sounds good. Take care, guys.